Doom the Dark Ages is not a good Doom game. And yeah, I know, reading the title is me saying openly that this is not a Doom game. Probably you are like weirded out and maybe you enjoy the game. And listen, I never say that this is not a good game and it's not serviceable in some way, but as a Doom fan, and someone that doesn't really say that I am a fan because of 2016 and Eternal, I also love the original Doom games, because before I played the 2016, I also played the first one and the second one before the 2016 even released, because I wanted to experience the original thing that was back in the day. And yeah, this game is not really a Doom game, but let me start from the beginning. So the story is not really interesting and it's all over the place, really hard to follow, and it takes place before 2016, so it ties in to 2016 and to the next game, and kinda goes more into the lore that was present in Doom Eternal. And whoever thought that full story with cutscenes in Doom game is something that people give a damn about, well, you have to be crazy, because people don't. And I know Eternal also had these cutscenes and story and lore, and it was interesting, but it had actual amount that people could give a fuck about in Doom game. This game goes full on blasting with cutscenes, full story mode that kinda tries to take itself overly seriously, to the point when I genuinely was playing it and I didn't really feel the Doom in Doom. This game feels like it treats itself too seriously, like the previous games, any of the previous games didn't treat itself like. And the levels have no soul, so they look overall bland. You have open levels, you have corridor levels, you have a bunch of find the lock to unlock this gate or this door or to move this so you can pass. And I get it, but it feels like the levels actually kind of repeat the same things over and over again, to the point when I was genuinely bored, because when you visit another dungeon where you have to unlock gates, or when you are placed on the open arena map where you have to go, you can go wherever you want first. The game doesn't force you to go first to the right and then to the left and then go forward. No, the game actually gives you the ability to start completing the objectives as you want. The problem is the objectives itself, because most of these missions comes down to like destroy 2 portals, destroy 4 portals and kill the cultists, destroy 3 tanks, destroy this amount of turrets, destroy this big guy, and this is basically it. And why I said destroy this big guy, you see, this game has a problem with its enemies. The enemies are not appealing, they are not fun to combat in most places, because there is this kind of dumbing down of the game, where the game basically feels like it is made for idiots. You just take any weapon you want, you don't have to change it, you don't have to swap it, you don't have to think about what you're doing. You just can take the super shotty and move and kill every single enemy in 2 shots. And the big dudes that I mentioned before, well, you have this big dude, you see him in the distance, right? So imagine like you want to fight him on foot, on your own, or maybe in the mech fight. You want, because the game basically gives you a cannon, machine gun, and you just sit in the cannon and shoot at him as he slowly walks towards you. And when the supercharge is ready, then you're going to shoot him with the supercharge as he is about to come really close to you, and then he's going to do 2 steps back. And this is basically how you fight these big bosses. These are not even bosses, these are just full scripted sequences that are not really fun to even play, because they always play up the same. Instead of doing some cool boss fight with mech or stuff, you end up defeating them through just a cannon. That's it. And when you are in mechs, they fall after like 3-4 punches, and that's it. And playing this game, I was really surprised, because in previous Doom games, for an example, you have these spider brains, and they have turrets. So you could have just take a sticky grenade and throw it onto the turret, and you would blow up the turret, and the spider would be less of a threat to you. This game doesn't have that. You can, however, take out the arms of the big bloaty guy. However, this is only one thing that actually matters. And most of the enemies, you've seen first couple levels, you've seen them all. And the boss fights, let me tell you about the boss fights. Most of the time, the boss fights are kinda on the basis of you have this one big, for an example, enemy that is elite enemy like Bloater or the guy with the minigun, and you have to kill them. But to kill them, you have to kill everyone else around him, because before you kill everyone else, this guy is untouchable. So you have to clear everything around him, then you can actually damage the big guy. And usually this is the elite enemy that you already fought millions of times. In fact, the guys around him that you have to clean are almost always just copy of the one bloater that is treated as a boss. The other boss fights are the new elite enemies that you are encountering for the first time, and then they are moving in to become the regular elite enemy in the game. And you have third type of boss where you have actual boss, and these are rare, and the game blue balls you constantly. Why? Because in the story mode, when you're playing, well, you arriving at the point when the cutscene is going to be triggered, and imagine my surprise when the game constantly was putting me in the position when I was about to get to the guy that I have to eliminate, but in the last second I'm getting zapped back into the ship, or something happens and I fall, or this and this and that. And I was like, don't tease me with it, because this is just shitty, and you tease me that I'm going to be fighting something more exciting, but at the end of the day, I am not. The game also introduced shield. You don't have the jumpy playstyle from the previous two games, and even more from Eternal. There is nothing of those things. They introduced shield, and the game requires from you to use the shield constantly. Imagine this first-person shooter that requires you to block shots and parry green blobs that move at you with a really slow pace, and you have so generous window to bounce them back at the enemies. And I felt multiple times in this game like the game punishes me more for running around and trying to dodge the shots than just staying in a place and parrying the shots that are green coming to me in this really slow pace. I, at some points, felt like I should stay in the place because the game is punishing me for actually trying to run around the arena. So this is complete change from anything that Doom stands for, and I don't personally like the idea of using the shield and being forced to throw the shield at the enemies to stun them or stuff. You have these guys, for an example, that have shields, and you have to hit them up, and then you can eliminate them by throwing the shield. This is really nice, this is interesting. The problem, however, is that they place them multiple times, usually with already heated up shields. Then, if you only heat up one shield, but there's 20 guys with the shields, and you are going to throw the shield at this one guy that has heated up shield, all of them die. They don't matter that they have normal regular shields. They just, everyone dies. Then you have these guys with the energy shields, and you have like use the plasma gun to blow them up, and you blow them up in multiples. Well, you don't really have to do this, because you can just throw the shield at them, and the shield is going to bounce off every single one of them, and the entire changing weapons and using other weapons to your advantage goes out of the window. Since Doom 1, there was a reason to use different guns. In this game, there's no reason to use different guns. You just get super shoddy, you get a shield, and you're good to go. And something that really annoys me, when my gun is going to run out of shots, my game changes the gun to the closest one in the wheel. And the closest one in the wheel for me was rocket launcher. So I would grenade launcher. So I would actually blow myself up. Congratulations. I prefer changing the gun after I run out of shots by myself, not if the game is doing it for me, because it feels like I'm stupid. But the entire game relies on using the shield, and it gets boring and it gets repetitive, and it's not fun to play after a certain amount of time. After a few levels, after 8 levels, and there's 22 of those, after 8 levels, I really didn't want to play this game anymore because I enjoyed shooting the super shotty, but if I want to play a really nice game and I can also use the super shotty, I can play previous Doom games and I will have more fun, and I will not be forced to use this shield and repeat the same objectives over and over again. So you also have the sequences that they experimented with. So for an example, you get to fly the dragon. The problem is that the flying the dragon is not really exciting, and shooting from the dragon is even less exciting. Let me get this, spell this out for you. You have the mission. The first mission, when you get to fly the dragon, you get to these ships that you have to destroy, and to destroy the ships you have to destroy the turrets. There is 5 turrets on each ship. You have to position yourself with the lock-in target on the console, for an example. If you could play on the controller, it's going to be auto lock, and you have to wait till the cannon is going to shoot green blob at you, and the game really indicates in which side you should actually avoid it. So you avoid this shot, and then you avoid the second shot that is also green, and the third shot, and the stagger meter is going to run out, and you only then can damage the turret and the ship goes down, and you have to repeat this 5 times for each turret, and I'm like, that is not exciting. That is opposite of exciting. So the one thing that I can give this game is mech fights, which are 2 times in the game. When I was kind of excited, the sequences are twice in the game, and they feel good. They don't feel like Doom, but they are really well made, and I had most fun playing those 2 sequences. Sorry, I forgot. It is 3 times you play in the mech. Why? Because there is a mission 11 where you just get into the mech and you fight the monsters in the mech maybe 2 minutes. You get out of the mech, you enter the building because they tease you that there's a boss fight in it again, and turns out that there's no boss fight. You defeat a bunch of enemies and you quit the level, and this is basically the entire level. It lasts 5 minutes because this game is structural mess. Sometimes the level is big and it takes you 20 minutes to get through it, even more if you're a completionist, but this ends up being genuinely just a 2-3 minute level, and there are in the game's levels that short, and you see that 22 chapters and you're like, a lot of missions. Some of them basically last 2 minutes, so don't get overly excited. But this game ain't Doom. And if you want to know, Doom had glory kills in 2016, in Eternal, and in this one they don't have glory kills. So glory kills are basically non-existent. You can kind of force the game to do it, but you would have to be mid-air and execute the attack, and then you jump down on the enemy and, for an example, saw his head in half with your shield. Other than that, there is nothing more. You will experience a glory kills on the big bosses, he's going to rip someone's heart out, and that is it. But this is really toned down version of something that people loved in the previous 2 games, and it's not really exciting. Kicking the enemy when the purple circle is going to appear on my screen that I should actually melee him without wasting my melee. We get to that. It's not exciting. Yes, melee is actually limited in this game. They don't have the unlimited ammo pistol like in 2016, and they don't have actual melee in this game. So you don't have a actual place that you don't have the actual weapon or ability to kill the enemy. No, you have to run around and collect the pickups. I like it. I wasn't really the big fan of the replenish your ammo and shields and everything with using the saw in the Eternal, but in here the problem begins when you don't even include the normal melee. So you have this fist and you can slam it or then you have mace and stuff, and you can slam it 3 times and you run out of the ability to use your melee. You have to collect a pickup that you find on a map or wait till it's going to replenish over time. So imagine my shock when I was stuck with this one bigger enemy and I couldn't really charge him with my shield, because I would instantly receive damage when I did it. So what I would have to do is run around and wait till I get to replenish my ammo a bit. So I would have to wait till my melee is going to come back, and at this time I had 1 only to use, and I would have to use it on a small enemy that game constantly spawns over and over again, and count on it that they gonna give me some ammo. And I finally did it, and I was finally able to defeat the guy, but it was a chore, and I shouldn't really have to do that. The melee in the game should not be limited to a pickup. Whoever thought about that should be fired from its software. But okay, continuing, that was probably the most irritating thing in the game that happened, because overall the game is completely easy. Most of the time when I would die because I just didn't use shield, because I didn't want to use shield. That was artificial kind of difficulty for me to use the shield as little as possible. So I would die because I just couldn't force myself to block and parry, because this is an FPS game, not a Elden Ring. So I was just trying to play the game my style, but if you use the shield, if you just operate with it properly, nothing is going to happen to you. For the entire game you're going to be just fine, a-okay. You can pick up the life sigils that will offer you to revive mid-fight. You can collect 3 of those and carry 3 of those, and you can revive yourself 3 times even in a single fight. The game is extremely easy. It feels really dumbed down. And listen, if someone is writing to me online, because there were moments when I just got into the conversation of someone saying that the game is not really a Doom game, and they would respond to me saying, "Get good." My guy, how is saying that this is not a Doom game and it's easy, the response you go in with is, "Get good." The game is too fucking easy. And I loved Eternal, and Eternal also wasn't a hard game, and for some people it is, and I kinda understand it, especially with Marauders, but seriously, this is what you're going with? Get good when someone is saying that the game is too easy? And that's not the first time. The Doom Dark Ages is not the first time when I said the game is too easy and someone is responding to me, "Get good." Really? It's not a terrible game, it's not a bad game. I wouldn't tell you to buy it for $70. It is a 12-hour game that you can play in Game Pass, and even $20 Game Pass is too much. Get yourself some code that is probably cheaper. But this game is not worth the asking price, and I would even argue it's not worth paying $20 just to play this game. If you already have Game Pass and you want to test it and you may end up liking it, fine, but it's not worth paying $70 price for this. And I am someone who loves Doom, and I would like Doom to keep getting new games, but not this type of game. I really like Eternal, and I know a lot of people didn't like Eternal because it was too fast and was actually focused on being this kind of all over the place. You had to have really fast reactions. A lot of people don't want to deal with that. And I was even playing this on a controller, so even worse. But this game is not Doom. This is not what Doom is supposed to be. We are going to, the enemy design is boring. The fights are easy. If you are using your shield properly, you are not going to die. And the game also likes to spawn the enemies behind your back. So the biggest threat is the fact that the game is going to take the 2 enemies, for an example, the smaller ones, spawn it behind your back, and you are playing on a higher difficulty level. 2-3 hits, you're done. And there were even moments when the game would actually spawn me the enemy right in front of my face because I killed the enemy and the body hasn't even evaporated yet, but there is a new enemy being spawned right in my face. fun. So that is the biggest threat in the entire game. The other stuff, no. When I actually got to using my shield properly and like get to know like how melee works in this weird way that they implemented it, I actually ended up just being bored and I didn't want to continue playing the game, but I forced myself to get through it. And as a Doom fan, this game is a massive fucking disappointment. I am not happy with what they did. Doom is not about bouncing back funny looking green orbs that enemies send to you in a slow motion, and some enemies also have this shield, this armor on them, and you can heat it up and you can throw the shield and the shield is going to break and you're going to defeat the enemy easier. Sometimes I didn't even notice it. I had this boss fight, like this was like the first or second boss fight in the game when they introduced new elite enemy to the game, and I didn't even notice that he had armor on him. I was just running around with this skull crusher and just shooting him, walking around, not even using shield, and he just died. And when he died and the enemy appeared as a normal regular enemy in the game, I was like, wait, they have shield? And I checked it on my footage, and yes, he had shield. I didn't even know that he had shield. So congratulations, id Software, you did a stellar job to please the people who didn't like Eternal. You did a super easy game that I, as a fan of the franchise, I don't even want to play, but I finished it. And you don't have the cool attachments for weapons like you had in Eternal, and you can upgrade the weapons, but really I didn't really feel like this did much for me in my playthrough. You can collect the collectibles like toys and crystals that allow you to upgrade the weapons further, and I just wasn't even interested in upgrading the weapons because I already felt like the game is easy, and if you're going to upgrade your weapons, then the game becomes even easier than that, and everything feels like it's a humongous step back. But like, I understand this is a prequel, but still, even as it's a prequel, the step back shouldn't be as huge as it is in this game. Also, the music in this game sucks. Like, I couldn't distinguish one track from another one. It's basically like when you're playing the game, you sometimes even forget that there is any music in it. And yes, they don't have Mick Gordon because they chose to fight with the man instead of saying, sorry my guy, we will be doing better. No, right now we have really lifeless music that it feels like it was made by AI. Seriously, it is just soulless. It is not fun. The best track is probably the one that plays in the main menu. And listen, previously they had someone else make the music for DLCs to Doom Eternal, Part 1 and Part 2. And this music was ways better because it has actually some cool tracks on this. This one, no. The music in the DLCs was way better than this one. This one, I genuinely just started putting on my own music because I just was forgetting that there is any music in the game. So disappointing. And the game doesn't even offer any like multiplayer or co-op or anything. Like, this is just a straight up 12-hour single player only game with not much replayability, and it's $70. This game is $70. You can have Expedition 33 for $50. That is going to be way longer game, last you way more than whatever the fuck they did in Doom the Dark Ages. Graphics are fine, the game forces you to use ray tracing on PC, another fucking disaster. It has the Nouveau, another disaster, and the physical release for PlayStation and Xbox doesn't contain the game, it's only a mere license holder. For Xbox it's 300 megabytes and for PlayStation it's 86 megabytes. Congratulations, why do you even print those discs at this point? You can also just buy it and resell it, but listen, this type of physical releases, you can put it up your ass, I don't give a shit, and I'm gonna stay with the older Doom games. But if you want to really play this, the game is available in Game Pass. That is all, bye.